The room was bright and filled with chatter as people moved about, talking and laughing with each other. The smell of polished wood and faint traces of coffee lingered in the air. At one corner of the room stood a grand piano, its black surface gleaming under the soft lights above. A young girl approached it slowly, her small hands trembling slightly. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the fluttering in her chest. This was her first time performing in front of such a big crowd, and she felt a mixture of fear and excitement swirling inside her. As she moved closer, she could hear whispers. Some people were curious, others seemed skeptical. A few faces turned toward her and smirked, exchanging quiet jokes with each other. She felt their eyes on her, heavy and judging. For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe she had made a mistake by coming here. Maybe she wasn't ready. She stared at the piano keys, remembering the countless hours she had spent learning and practicing in her small, quiet room at home. She thought about every mistake she had made, every time she had felt frustrated and wanted to give up, and yet she had kept going. She placed her fingers on the keys and felt the smooth, cold surface under her touch. The sound seemed to call to her, a gentle invitation to share what she had been learning. A few people in the crowd chuckled, seeing how nervous she was. Some even laughed openly, pointing at her and whispering. She felt a wave of embarrassment and panic, but she reminded herself why she was here. This was not just about impressing others. This was about proving to herself that she could do it. The first note she played was hesitant, shaky, and uncertain. It didn't sound perfect, and she knew it. Some people's laughter grew louder, thinking she might fail. Her cheeks burned, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she took another deep breath, steadying herself. She closed her eyes for a moment and remembered the times when she had practiced alone, letting the music flow through her. Each note had been a step forward, a small victory, and now she had the chance to show that progress. Slowly, she began to play the next notes. They were still uneven, but there was more confidence in her fingers. She remembered her mentor's words from long ago. Play from your heart, not just your hands. She tried to listen to the music, to let it guide her, rather than focusing on the people watching her. The sounds she produced were soft at first, but they began to form a pattern, a melody that felt like her own voice. The laughter in the room continued, but it didn't dominate her thoughts. She had a goal, and she was determined to reach it. As she played, her mind drifted to the small moments that had brought her here. She thought about the early mornings she had spent practicing, her fingers aching from pressing the keys repeatedly. She remembered the nights she had stayed up late, learning a difficult piece note by note. Each small step, each tiny improvement had been a part of this journey. And now, all of it mattered more than the whispers and the laughter around her. The audience began to notice the change in her. Even the people who had been laughing started to quiet down a little. Some leaned forward, curious about the sound she was creating. The girl felt a spark of hope. She realized that maybe they were starting to hear her effort, her dedication. It was not just about playing the piano. It was about showing what she had worked for, what she had believed in when no one else had. Her fingers moved more naturally now, finding the keys without as much hesitation. The melody became smoother, and she felt the music flowing through her like a river. Each note was a small declaration, a statement of who she was and what she could do. The room, once full of doubt and laughter, started to change in response. People were listening more closely, some with wide eyes, others with faint smiles of surprise. It was as if the music itself was drawing them in, showing them the dedication and passion behind each sound. The girl took another deep breath, letting her body relax into the rhythm. She felt a warmth in her chest, a growing confidence that she had never felt before. The fear was still there, but it was quieter now, drowned out by the music and the determination inside her. She remembered the promise she had made to herself, to never give up, to keep going even when it was hard. This was her moment, her chance to show that effort and persistence mattered more than doubt or ridicule. Slowly, she began to play a part of the piece she had practiced countless times. The notes were not perfect, but there was a feeling to them that couldn't be ignored. She poured herself into the music, letting every emotion she had felt, fear, excitement, determination, come through the keys. She played not to impress, but to express herself. And as she did, something remarkable happened. The laughter that had filled the room began to fade, replaced by a quiet attentiveness. People were starting to notice the courage it took for her to stand there and play. She didn't look at the crowd. choosing instead to focus on the music and her hands. Each note was a small victory over doubt, over fear, over the voices that had tried to tell her she couldn't do it. The room seemed to hold its breath, listening as the melody unfolded. Even the harshest critics couldn't deny the effort and emotion that shone through each sound. She felt a connection with the music, a sense of purpose that was stronger than any fear. The first part of the piece came to an end, and she hesitated for a brief moment before moving to the next. The audience, sensing the dedication behind her playing, was silent. The laughter had completely stopped. Some people were exchanging glances, surprised by the transformation that had begun. She smiled faintly to herself, feeling a mix of relief and pride. This was only the beginning, but she knew she was on the right path. As she prepared to continue, she thought about the journey that had led her here. The challenges she had faced, the doubts she had overcome, and the quiet determination that had carried her through every practice session. This was more than a performance. It was a testament to her growth and perseverance. The music was her voice, and she was finally letting it be heard. She pressed the keys again, feeling the music rise and fill the room. The nervousness was still there, but it had been transformed into a focused energy. She played with care, with intention, and with a sense of self-belief that had been growing quietly inside her for years. The room, once filled with judgment and doubt, was now listening. The young girl had taken the first step on a journey that would not only change how others saw her, but also how she saw herself. And in that moment, she realized that courage and determination could shine even in the face of ridicule, setting the stage for something remarkable to unfold. The first few notes of the next section were more confident, more deliberate. She had found a rhythm that felt natural, and her fingers glided over the keys with increasing assurance. The small tremble she felt at the beginning had eased, replaced by a quiet determination. She knew that mistakes might still come, but she had learned to accept them as part of the process. This was not about perfection. It was about expression, about showing her own journey through the music. As she played, she could feel the energy in the room shifting. The initial laughter had completely disappeared, replaced by curious attention. People were leaning forward, listening intently, some even holding their breath in anticipation. Her hands moved faster now, finding the right notes with greater ease, and she began to notice subtle smiles forming on faces she hadn't expected. For the first time, she realized that the music could bridge the gap between her and the audience. It wasn't just about performing. It was about connecting. Her thoughts drifted to the countless hours she had spent practicing at home. She remembered sitting alone in her small room, replaying difficult passages again and again, sometimes to the point of frustration. There were days when her fingers ached, when the melody seemed impossible to master, and when she had wanted to give up entirely. But each time she had taken a deep breath, reminded herself of her love for music, and tried again. Those moments of persistence had prepared her for this very performance. The struggle had not been wasted. It was shaping her into the musician she was becoming. The girl began to notice the subtle reactions of the audience. Some people's eyes had softened, reflecting admiration, while others were focused so intently it seemed they were holding their breath. She could sense their curiosity and their growing respect. It was a strange feeling, knowing that each note she played could touch someone in a way words could not. She played with care, making sure every sound carried intention. Every pause and every accent became part of the story she wanted to tell. The middle section of the piece was more challenging, full of fast passages and intricate fingerwork. Her hands moved quickly, but her mind remained calm. She had practiced these moments countless times, and muscle memory guided her fingers. Even when she hit an uncertain note, she didn't panic. She let the music flow, using the mistakes as part of the natural rhythm. It was in those imperfections that she found beauty, a reminder that real art was not flawless but honest and heartfelt. As the melody grew more complex, she began to notice a subtle change in her own emotions. The fear that had been so strong at the beginning was now replaced with exhilaration. She felt alive, every heartbeat in sync with the music, every breath measured by the rise and fall of the melody. She could feel her confidence growing, but it wasn't arrogance. It was a quiet, steady assurance that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The piano had become an extension of herself, an instrument through which she could speak when words were not enough. Around her, the audience was visibly affected. A few people even seemed on the verge of tears, moved by the sincerity of her playing. Some who had doubted her now looked at her with wide-eyed admiration. The laughter and whispers from before had vanished completely, replaced by a hushed reverence. She realized that music had a power all its own, capable of transforming the room, of altering the mood and the feelings of those who were willing to listen. It was a lesson she had known in theory but was now experiencing fully in real time. The girl's mind wandered back to her mentor, remembering the encouragement she had received when she first started learning. Every tip, every gentle correction, and every word of advice came flooding back to her. She realized how much she had absorbed over the years, not just in technique but in the understanding of what music truly was. It was not only about notes and rhythm, it was about conveying emotion, telling a story, and sharing a piece of oneself with others. That insight guided her hands now, shaping the way she phrased each section, the way she held the pauses, the way she let certain notes linger longer than others. The music became more expressive, richer, and fuller. She added subtle dynamics, softening some notes, strengthening others, creating waves of sound that moved through the room. She could feel the audience responding, shifting with the rhythm and the emotion. Some people leaned forward, others closed their eyes, and a few even whispered in quiet awe. She had never imagined that she could reach people in this way, that her music could evoke such immediate and powerful reactions. Yet, it was happening, and it filled her with a sense of wonder and fulfillment she had never felt before. Even as she played, she thought about the inner battles she had fought to get here. There were moments of doubt, moments when she questioned if she was good enough, moments when she felt invisible and unheard. Each of those experiences had strengthened her resolve, teaching her resilience and perseverance. And now, standing in front of a room full of people, she was realizing that all those small struggles had been necessary. They had prepared her for this moment, for the chance to stand tall despite the laughter and the uncertainty. The complexity of the piece continued to challenge her, but she embraced it. Her hands moved with purpose and precision, guided by both memory and instinct. The rhythm carried her forward, and she felt as though she was no longer just playing. She was communicating, telling a story through the rise and fall of the music. Every listener was experiencing the journey with her, and she could feel a connection forming, a shared understanding that transcended words. The room was no longer just a space filled with strangers. It had become a living, breathing audience reacting and responding to the story she was telling. As the section progressed, she became aware of subtle details in the music that she had not noticed before. The way certain notes could echo, the way dynamics could change the emotional impact, and the way a pause could create suspense or reflection. She began to play not only with her hands but with her mind fully engaged, thinking about every nuance and how it would affect the listener. This was a higher level of performance, one that required both technical skill and emotional intelligence, and she was discovering it naturally, driven by her passion and focus. She noticed a few people in the audience exchanging glances, seemingly impressed and surprised at the level of skill she was showing. The previous mockery and disbelief seemed distant now, irrelevant in the face of the music. She realized that this was the true reward, the ability to transform perception through dedication and talent. She had not only silenced the laughter but had begun to inspire respect and admiration. It was a powerful feeling, but one she approached with humility, knowing that the journey was ongoing and that there was always more to learn. The girl continued to play, moving through each phrase with a mix of determination and freedom. The music flowed naturally now, no longer constrained by nervousness or doubt. She was present in each note, aware of the impact she was making and committed to expressing the depth of her emotions. The audience, captivated by her growing confidence, followed her every move, experiencing the highs and lows of the music as if they were part of the performance themselves. As she reached the end of this section, her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and satisfaction. She could feel the culmination of effort, practice, and perseverance, and it was reflected in the quiet admiration of the audience. The journey from nervousness to confidence had been challenging, but it had been worth every step. She had not only played the piano, she had shared a part of herself, and that connection was more powerful than any applause could ever be. Taking a brief pause, she allowed herself a small smile. She knew the next part of the piece would be even more demanding, but she felt ready. The initial struggle, the self-doubt, and the laughter from before had all been transformed into fuel for her performance. She was no longer playing to prove herself to others. She was playing to express, to share, and to celebrate the music she loved. And with that mindset, she prepared to continue, confident that she could meet whatever challenges awaited in the next section. As the girl moved into the next section of her performance, she felt a sense of calm settle over her. The initial nervousness had faded, replaced by a steady focus that allowed her to connect fully with the piano. Every note she played seemed to carry more meaning, more emotion, as if the music itself was guiding her hands. The audience, previously skeptical, had grown silent and attentive, drawn in by the sincerity and depth of her playing. She could feel their eyes on her, but it no longer distracted her. Instead, it gave her a sense of purpose, a reminder that she was sharing something valuable with them. Her fingers danced over the keys with increasing confidence, finding rhythms and harmonies that she hadn't even consciously thought about. It was as if the piano and she were speaking to each other, and together they were telling a story that transcended words. She remembered her early lessons when every movement had felt forced and clumsy. Now each gesture was deliberate, expressive, and flowing. The journey from uncertainty to mastery was evident in every sound she produced, and it thrilled her to realize how far she had come. The melody began to rise, carrying a richness and complexity that reflected the emotions she had been holding inside for so long. She thought about the countless hours she had spent alone, practicing in her room, feeling both joy and frustration. Those moments of solitude had shaped her, teaching her patience, resilience, and the power of dedication. Now all that effort was visible in her music, unfolding before an audience that had once doubted her. It was a moment of quiet triumph, a confirmation that perseverance could overcome doubt and fear. As she continued, she became aware of the subtle reactions of the listeners. Some were leaning forward, captivated by the unfolding melody, their expressions a mixture of surprise and admiration. A few were nodding gently, as if they understood the emotion she was conveying even without words. The laughter and whispers from earlier had vanished entirely, replaced by a shared sense of wonder. She realized that her performance was no longer just about her. It was about creating a connection, bridging the gap between herself and the audience through the universal language of music. The piece required technical skill, demanding precise fingerwork and careful timing. Yet she felt at ease, her hands moving instinctively across the keys. She had practiced these passages countless times, and muscle memory guided her with accuracy. Still, she added small nuances, subtle shifts in dynamics, and gentle pauses that brought life to the music. Each variation was a personal touch, a reflection of her personality and feelings. The audience seemed to respond instinctively, drawn into the flow of the music and the emotions it carried. She paused briefly in her mind, thinking about the obstacles she had faced to reach this point. There had been moments of doubt, days when she questioned her ability, times when progress seemed impossibly slow. Each challenge had tested her patience and determination, and yet she had persisted. That persistence now felt like a quiet strength, fueling her confidence and allowing her to play with authenticity. The lessons she had learned through struggle were manifesting in every note, giving her music a depth and sincerity that resonated with everyone listening. The girl's expression softened as she played, her emotions intertwining with the melody. The music was no longer just sound. It was a reflection of her journey, her growth, and her heart. She thought about the people who had doubted her, who had laughed at her first attempt, and she felt no anger or resentment. Instead, she felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that her dedication had spoken louder than their words ever could. The room, once filled with doubt, was now filled with admiration and quiet awe, and she could feel the energy shifting with each measure. As the middle section of the piece progressed, the music grew more expressive and dynamic. She experimented with tempo, letting certain passages linger while accelerating others, creating tension and release that captivated the listeners. Each phrase carried intention, and the audience responded unconsciously, swaying with the rhythm, absorbing the emotion embedded in the sound. It was a powerful reminder that music could communicate in ways words never could, transcending barriers and touching hearts in profound ways. Her mind wandered briefly to her early experiences with the piano. She remembered the first time she had managed to play a difficult passage without mistakes, the pride she had felt when she realized she could master something that had once seemed impossible. She thought of her mentor, whose patient guidance had taught her not just technique but also the importance of expression, resilience, and patience. Those lessons had become part of her, shaping not only her playing but also the way she approached challenges in life. Every note she played was a reflection of those lessons, a tribute to the effort, guidance, and love that had brought her here. The music began to swell, creating a wave of emotion that seemed to envelop the room. The audience, previously silent and attentive, now appeared visibly moved. Some closed their eyes, letting the melody wash over them, while others watched in quiet admiration, their faces showing wonder and respect. She noticed the subtle shifts in posture and expression, a testament to the power of her performance. What had begun as doubt and laughter had transformed into a shared experience of beauty and emotion, a powerful demonstration of the impact that dedication and passion could have. She felt a surge of confidence as she moved through the more challenging passages. Her hands flew over the keys with precision, yet she maintained a sense of ease and control. The music was alive, each note infused with intention and feeling. She had learned to embrace mistakes as part of the process, using them to guide her interpretation rather than hinder it. The audience seemed unaware of any errors, captivated entirely by the emotion and authenticity of her playing. It was a liberating realization that imperfection could coexist with beauty, and that true artistry lay in the honesty of expression. As the section approached its climax, she allowed herself to become fully immersed in the music. Her fingers moved instinctively, her mind entirely focused and her heart open to the emotion flowing through her. The melody rose and fell, creating a narrative that spoke of struggle, growth, and triumph. She felt an intimate connection with the piano, as though it were a part of her body, an extension of her spirit. The audience was no longer separate. They were participants in the unfolding story, experiencing the highs and lows alongside her. She noticed subtle shifts in the audience's reactions, the way they leaned forward, the quiet gasps of appreciation, the soft smiles of recognition. Their engagement fueled her performance, reinforcing the connection she felt with them. It was a moment of mutual understanding, a shared acknowledgement that something meaningful was happening in the room. She realized that music had the power not only to express her own feelings, but also to evoke emotion in others, creating a bond that transcended words. The girl allowed herself a brief moment of reflection as she played. She thought about the journey from fear to confidence, from doubt to self-assurance. Every mistake, every moment of hesitation had been a stepping stone, guiding her toward this experience. She felt grateful for the challenges she had faced, knowing that they had strengthened her resolve and prepared her for this moment. Her music was a testament to perseverance, a demonstration that courage and dedication could overcome even the harshest criticism. The passage concluded with a gentle, lingering note that seemed to hang in the air, resonating in the hearts of the listeners. The room remained silent for a moment, as if holding its breath before the audience erupted in quiet murmurs of admiration. Some exchanged glances of surprise and wonder, recognizing the depth of skill and emotion she had demonstrated. The laughter and skepticism that had greeted her at the beginning had completely vanished, replaced by respect and awe. It was a transformative experience both for her and for those watching. She took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The turning point in her performance had arrived, and she had navigated it successfully. The struggle of the beginning, the challenge of the middle section, had all led to this moment of recognition and connection. She felt a sense of accomplishment, not just for the music she had played, but for the courage it had taken to face doubt and continue despite fear. It was a powerful affirmation of her own strength and resilience. As she prepared for the next part of the piece, she felt a renewed sense of energy and focus. The first half of the performance had taught her valuable lessons about confidence, patience, and expression. She knew that the journey was not yet complete, but she was ready to continue, to explore new challenges and to share even more of herself through her music. The room, now fully attentive and engaged, provided the perfect space for her to grow and shine, a place where her talent could be recognized and celebrated. She placed her fingers on the keys again, ready to continue the story she was telling through her music. Every note, every chord, was an expression of who she was, a reflection of the journey she had taken and a message of perseverance and hope. The connection with the audience was now stronger than ever, and she felt a profound sense of purpose as she played. She was no longer just a girl attempting to perform. She was an artist sharing her passion and her heart with those willing to listen, leaving a lasting impression that would not soon be forgotten. As the girl continued her performance, she could feel the music carrying her forward, each note flowing naturally from her fingers to the audience. Her confidence had grown steadily, and now she was no longer playing just to overcome fear or doubt. She was playing to communicate, to share the emotion and story she carried within her. The piano had become a partner in this journey, guiding her through every rise and fall, every soft whisper of a note and every bold, confident chord. The melody grew richer and more expressive, filling the room with a resonance that seemed to reach every corner. She added subtle variations to the tempo, slowing down in some parts to let the emotion linger, and speeding up in others to create excitement and energy. Her fingers moved with precision and grace, reflecting years of dedication and countless hours of practice. Each movement, though technically challenging, felt effortless because it was fueled by emotion and purpose. As she played, she noticed the audience responding in ways that surprised her. People who had been skeptical at the beginning were now leaning forward, their eyes wide with attention. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, while others smiled softly, captivated by the sincerity and depth of her performance. She realized that what she had once thought of as a simple audience had become something more. They were participants in the story she was telling, sharing in the journey with her. The more complex sections of the piece required both skill and concentration, yet she felt fully prepared. Her hands moved quickly, guided by muscle memory and the intuition she had developed through years of practice. Even when a note didn't sound exactly as she intended, she continued without hesitation, letting the imperfection become part of the expression. She had learned that mistakes did not define the performance. It was the emotion, dedication, and persistence behind each note that truly mattered. She thought about all the moments that had led her here, the quiet days of practice at home, the small victories, the mistakes, and the lessons they brought. Those moments had built her resilience and taught her to trust herself. Each challenge she had faced now seemed insignificant compared to the strength she felt while playing. The music had become more than notes on a page. It was a reflection of her journey, a story of determination and courage. As the piece reached its crescendo, the room seemed to hold its breath. The sound filled every space, powerful and emotive, resonating with every person present. She could sense the audience's awe, their disbelief slowly transforming into admiration. Faces that had once been skeptical or dismissive now reflected surprise, respect, and even wonder. She felt a profound connection with them, a shared experience that went beyond words. It was in this moment that she realized the true power of music. It could transform perceptions, touch hearts, and create bonds that transcended initial judgments. Her hands moved seamlessly over the keys, bringing the melody to life with fluidity and precision. Every chord and note was carefully crafted, carrying the weight of emotion she had built up over years of learning. She allowed herself to feel every nuance of the music, letting her heart guide her fingers as much as her mind. The combination of technical skill and emotional honesty made the performance compelling, drawing the audience deeper into the story she was telling. She noticed subtle reactions in the crowd that warmed her heart. Some people were leaning forward in their seats, completely absorbed. Others exchanged quiet glances of amazement, recognizing the dedication and passion behind her playing. The energy in the room was palpable, a shared understanding of the effort, courage, and artistry that had transformed the performance from a tentative attempt to a powerful expression of talent. For the first time, she truly grasped how much her music could affect others. The girl reflected on the contrast between the beginning of her performance and this moment. The laughter and whispers that had greeted her early attempts now seemed like a distant memory. They had served as obstacles, but they had also been fuel, pushing her to focus, to practice harder, and to find strength in herself. She realized that true growth often came from overcoming doubt and criticism, and that perseverance and belief in one's abilities were essential ingredients for success. The piece had reached a point where the music demanded full emotional investment. She played with her whole being, allowing every feeling to flow into the piano. Joy, fear, hope, and determination were all present in her notes. The audience was drawn into the narrative she was creating, responding unconsciously to the emotions she conveyed. It was as if they could feel her journey, each obstacle she had overcome, each hour of practice, and each moment of self-doubt that she had conquered. The performance had become a bridge, connecting her inner world with the hearts of those watching. As she navigated the final challenging passages, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Her body moved with confidence, her mind focused, and her heart fully engaged. She no longer thought about the audience's judgment or the possibility of mistakes. She was immersed in the music, and in that immersion, she discovered a freedom that allowed her to express herself completely. The audience, captivated by the flow of the melody and the emotion behind it, responded with silent admiration, completely absorbed in the moment. The climax of the piece approached, and she felt a surge of energy. Her fingers moved faster, more decisively, producing a sound that was both powerful and elegant. She felt the music reaching its peak, carrying the emotion she had invested for so long. Each note resonated with intensity, filling the room with sound and drawing the audience into the experience. The power of the performance was undeniable, and she sensed the shift from mere appreciation to awe. People were no longer simply listening, they were witnessing something extraordinary. She thought back to the early days of her practice, the times she had struggled to play simple pieces, the moments of doubt and frustration. Those experiences had shaped her, building resilience and teaching her patience. Every challenge she had faced had led her to this moment, a moment of transformation. The music she played was a culmination of years of effort, and the audience's reaction confirmed that her dedication had paid off. What began as an uncertain attempt had blossomed into a remarkable display of talent, courage, and artistry. The girl felt a wave of emotion as she continued to play. She realized that she had transcended the fear and hesitation of the past, reaching a level of confidence and expression she had never known. Each note carried her heart, her journey, and her story. The audience was completely captivated, their attention unwavering, their emotions stirred by the authenticity and passion behind her performance. She understood that this connection was the true reward, far beyond any applause or recognition. As the final measures approached, she slowed her tempo slightly, allowing the music to linger and resonate. She emphasized certain notes, letting them breathe and carry the emotion she wanted to convey. The room seemed to respond, the audience leaning in, their faces reflecting awe and admiration. The once skeptical or dismissive expressions had completely transformed into ones of respect and wonder. She felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that she had reached them through her music, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. The last chord rang out, sustained and resonant, filling the room with its rich tone. She held it for a moment, savoring the final sound, and then gently released it, letting the note fade into silence. The room remained quiet for a heartbeat, as if acknowledging the power and beauty of what had just been played. Then slowly the audience began to react. Soft murmurs of appreciation, gasps of admiration, and finally, heartfelt applause filled the space. The girl's heart swelled with a mix of relief, pride, and joy. She had not only performed, she had connected, inspired, and touched hearts. As she rose from the piano bench, she took a deep breath, feeling the culmination of her journey in that single performance. The initial laughter, the doubt, and the fear had all been transformed into admiration and awe. She realized that this experience was about more than music. It was about resilience, courage, and the power of believing in oneself. The room had witnessed a transformation, and she had experienced it firsthand. The music had carried her from uncertainty to triumph, leaving a lasting impact on both herself and the audience. In that moment, she understood the true meaning of talent and dedication. It was not just about playing notes correctly. It was about expressing oneself fully, embracing challenges, and sharing a piece of one's soul. She had faced ridicule and doubt, but through perseverance and passion she had created a moment of awe and inspiration. The audience's applause was a reflection of that journey, a testament to the power of determination and the beauty of music. She smiled, feeling gratitude for the path she had walked, the lessons she had learned, and the opportunity to leave a lasting impression on those who had witnessed her performance. As the final section of her performance began, the girl felt a mixture of excitement and calm determination. She had come a long way from the nervous, hesitant player who had started this journey, and now she felt a quiet strength within her. Each note she played carried her confidence, her emotion, and the story she wanted to share. The piano seemed to respond to her touch, the keys gliding beneath her fingers as if they were part of her own body. She was no longer just performing. She was expressing herself fully, letting the music speak for her. The audience was completely captivated. Their earlier skepticism had transformed into admiration, and their attention was unwavering. Some leaned forward in their seats, eyes wide with awe, while others closed their eyes, absorbed in the melodies she wove. She could sense their emotions resonating with her music, as if they were experiencing the journey alongside her. This connection, deeper than applause or recognition, filled her with a sense of fulfillment and purpose she had never known before. As she moved through the complex passages, her fingers danced effortlessly over the keys. Every movement was intentional, every note carefully considered, yet it all flowed naturally. She had practiced these pieces countless times, but now it was more than practice. It was instinct, expression, and emotion working together. The mistakes that once terrified her were now just small variations, absorbed seamlessly into the music, adding authenticity rather than taking away from it. The melody swelled, filling the room with richness and depth. She played with a mixture of power and delicacy, each chord telling a story. She thought about the obstacles she had faced, the mockery, the doubt, the hours of practice, and the moments of frustration. Each challenge had strengthened her, and each note now reflected the perseverance and courage that had brought her here. The audience seemed to feel it too, as if they could sense the journey behind every sound. Her mind wandered briefly to her earliest memories with the piano, the small victories and mistakes that had shaped her into the player she was now. She remembered the quiet evenings spent practicing alone, the encouragement of her mentor, and the satisfaction of finally mastering a difficult passage. All of these experiences had led to this moment, a moment where she could share her talent, her dedication, and her heart with others. The performance had become a living testament to her growth and determination. The girl allowed herself to feel the emotion in the music, letting it flow freely through her. She played with joy, hope, and a sense of triumph, conveying the story of her journey from doubt to confidence. The audience responded intuitively, moved by the sincerity and passion behind each note. Faces that had once shown disbelief or laughter now reflected admiration and respect. She realized that the music had transformed not only her own experience but also the perception of everyone watching. As the piece approached its climax, she poured every ounce of emotion into her playing. The melody rose and fell with intensity and grace, drawing the listeners deeper into the narrative. Her hands moved with precision, yet the expression behind each note was unmistakable. It was not just technical skill that captivated the audience, but the honesty and passion that emanated from her performance. She had found her voice, and it was powerful and moving. The room seemed to vibrate with the energy of the music. Some audience members were leaning forward, completely absorbed, while others were lost in thought, reflecting on the journey conveyed through the melodies. The transformation was remarkable. The laughter and doubt that had greeted her at the beginning had disappeared entirely. What remained was admiration, awe, and a deep sense of connection. She realized that the impact of music went beyond sound. It touched hearts, inspired emotion, and created bonds that words could never achieve. Her fingers continued to move over the keys with confidence, bringing the final passages to life. The music told a story of struggle, growth, and triumph, capturing the essence of her journey. She thought about the persistence it had taken to reach this point, the belief in herself that had carried her through the doubts and criticism. Every note was a reflection of that inner strength, and she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This was more than a performance. It was a testament to resilience and courage. The final notes approached, delicate yet powerful, echoing in the room with clarity and emotion. She played them with intention, letting each sound linger just long enough to resonate fully. The audience was completely engaged, absorbing the beauty and depth of the music. She could see expressions of wonder and admiration, even quiet tears from some who were moved by the performance. It was a moment of shared humanity, a connection formed through art and dedication. As she played the last chord, she allowed it to resonate, holding it gently before releasing it into silence. The room seemed to pause, the weight of the music lingering in the air. Then slowly, the audience erupted into applause, their appreciation heartfelt and genuine. She felt a wave of relief, pride, and joy, knowing that she had not only performed but had truly communicated something meaningful. The laughter and doubt of the past had been replaced by admiration and respect, a testament to her growth and determination. Rising from the piano bench, she took a deep breath, her heart full. She looked around the room, seeing faces that reflected the impact of her performance. People approached her with smiles, congratulations, and words of encouragement. She felt grateful for the journey that had led her here, The practice, the challenges, the doubts, and the moments of perseverance. Each experience had shaped her, preparing her for this moment of triumph and connection. The girl reflected on the lessons she had learned throughout this journey. She realized that talent alone was not enough. It was dedication, resilience, and the courage to face doubt that truly defined success. She understood that every challenge she had overcome, every mistake she had made, had been an essential part of her growth. The performance had become more than a showcase of skill. It was a celebration of determination, self-belief, and the transformative power of perseverance. She felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond the applause. The experience had shown her that sharing one's passion and dedication could inspire others and create lasting connections. The audience's admiration was a reflection of her authenticity and effort, and it affirmed the value of her journey. She understood that moments like these were rare and precious, and she would carry the memory of this performance with her always. As the audience gradually settled, she felt a quiet satisfaction. The journey from fear and doubt to confidence and awe had been challenging, but it had also been transformative. She had discovered the power of resilience, the importance of self-belief, and the ability to communicate through music. The performance had not only changed how others saw her, but also how she saw herself. She had found her voice, her strength, and her confidence all expressed through the piano. The girl stood by the piano, taking one last look at the room filled with appreciative faces. She felt gratitude for the opportunity to share her talent, and for the people who had supported her along the way. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every step. She knew that this was only the beginning, that there would be more challenges and more opportunities to grow, but she now carried the confidence to face them. As she left the stage, she carried with her the knowledge that courage, dedication, and passion could transform even the most skeptical audience. The laughter and doubt that had greeted her earlier were now memories, replaced by admiration and inspiration. She had not only proven her talent, but had also demonstrated the power of perseverance and self-belief. This performance was a milestone, a moment of triumph that would remain with her forever, a reminder of what could be achieved through dedication, resilience, and the courage to follow one's passion.